what we do in Nordic, where our consultancy there is spreading the tools of regenerative consciousness and leadership, which are at the very core, it is about looking at nature, using nature, saying, okay, we are nature, we look at nature. What's the logic of nature? We are nature. Maybe we should start acting like nature, that would kind of be a good place to start. But it's also about the giving mindset, very profoundly, and really integrating how do we give more than we take at a very personal level. And from there also, I have, the clients that I work with, when they go through the shift themselves, and it just clicks in them and say, wow, oh yes, how can I go to a meeting giving more than I take? How can I develop products where we actually give more than we take? How can we have a team development where we give more? How can the people that come to work, how can they go home feeling more, not necessarily energized after long, but feel that they have gotten a little bit more than they had when they came, so applying the giving mindset has so many implications.
I think it's,
and also at the end of the day, it influences how you cannot develop a product that harms people or the world once you made the shift inside of you. It's impossible. You just can't do it. And I think we all know that. We know if we suddenly really fall in love with nature, it's really difficult for us to throw a plastic bottle in it, because we're like, okay, how are you going to suffocate? How can you, put this plastic thing that's just like suffocating nature? You can't do that once the connection clicked in, right? And we're not all, I drive a car and I fly and I'm not again, I'm not a 100% nature giver. I take from nature. I use, I heat my house. I do all these things. But I have an intention, and I have made a very radical commitment to that intention. And that's what we can do, I believe.
Yeah, it makes so much sense. I also think it would make sense to have the level of ambition that people should go from a meeting energized. That because like giving more than we take. I think it's interesting also the difference or the evolution from sustainability and then into the regenerative paradigm, that it's just not enough just to sustain. It's just not enough anymore. We've passed that point. Now we really have to make this radical commitment to start just giving and giving from an open heart, giving from love, which does not require something back, that it's not something for something now.
Right.
It's like we just give now because we can feel it, but it is another level of being on the planet.
Yeah. It really is a different way of being on the planet for all of us. And I do believe we are, I'm an optimist in that sense. I believe we're on the path is opening, and it's opening. In that sense, COVID really did a lot of harm, but it also did something else, and it did open a consciousness, and it did open an awareness of what matters.
And what was interesting also during lockdowns, how the earth in a matter of days and weeks just started like healing and regenerating, and how you could measure the betterment of the world, of the planet, when we were not part of the equation, when we were locked away. That was also an eye-opener, I think, for many people.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Interesting. So you have at Promentum Nordic, you have a workshop coming up here in September and October about regeneration from within. It's the first time you are facilitating this workshop, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. And it's very exciting because it really is what we're talking about. It's really making the shift inside. And actually, as we talked about earlier, there's a lot of things we say, like it's important to love yourself. We know that. It's important to appreciate ourselves. With regeneration, there's kind of the same situation, right? Oh yes, it's important to give more than we take. But what does it mean?
In practice,
what is it?
In everyday living, in the business, in the organization, yeah.
And I mean, what I really love about working with regenerative leadership and consciousness is that it's holistic. It's not just, this is going on in the organizations, because it's an acknowledgement that we are systems. We are humans that are part of a living system. And that, of course, includes our personal lives, our love relationships, our family relationships, our friendships, how we are as colleagues, how we deal with ourselves, how do we tackle our own boundaries, and what is the embodiment of this shift.
Yeah.
And that is so pivotal. Loving ourselves. What is the embodiment? What is self-love embodied? Self-love as a concept, nice. Embodied self-love, that's different. And the same with regenerative transformation. It's the embodiment of it. It's when we can actually feel, okay, this is what giving more than we take actually feels like. This is how I can feel it, and this is how it expresses itself from a place of truth inside of me, from a genuine place inside me. And that's different. And that's what we're going to do a lot about. And it's very exciting. It's very, very exciting.
I'm going to put a link to Promentum and also a contact link to you and whatever about this. It's very, very interesting. And I'm very excited about this new work and path you're on. Especially knowing that you are love, walking and talking. I know that this is profound and deep shifts that are going to happen for leaders and organizations really committing to this path, which I hope everyone will in the years to come, because it's high time. It's high time. It's high time. So to sum up our conversation, Lucy,
yeah,
how do we create the world we love to live in?
The shortest answer to that is that we raise our awareness of the experience of love inside, that we have accessible quite simply, not necessarily easily, but quite simply by starting to give. It really is quite simple. It's just very, very deep, actually. It's simple and very, very deep. When we start giving and we start experiencing that within, then everything changes, from our personal lives, from the relationship to ourselves, to each other, and to the world. And that applies, of course, to organizations, communities, and our relationship to the planet. But it all starts with that awareness of the energy of love that is within us, that we can activate by starting to give. Yeah. That would be my 50 cents summing that question up.
That sounds totally spot on as a sum up. I just want to add one final question, because we touched upon it during the talk about the need for boundaries sometimes, the experience of getting caught up in other people's dramas maybe, or in a drama that we co-created, but the need for, we give, there must be some practical guidelines in order for us to, should there be we should only give, I guess, when it feels coming from a pure open heart. And if we close down in some way or the other, is that a sign that a boundary needs to take place, and then we can work and then we can start giving again when we're ready? Or that is just...
Yeah, I like to ask the question when we talk about giving. Does it feel like a sacrifice?
That's good.
And we all know that. We know that oh, this person calls us and asks for help. And we're like, yes, that's one place. And then there's the other, it's like, oh, well, it doesn't, I actually have this other thing, but okay, I'll cancel it. Yes, okay, then I'll do it. And then we're already like, does it feel like a sacrifice? It's a very, it takes some courage to be honest with it, because we like to think of ours. We can be quite attached to being good guys, right? Good people. So if we're very attached to our self-understanding of being good people and helpers, we are very attached to the self-understanding of how incredibly giving we are, right?
Exactly.
So it takes quite a lot of courage actually to say, okay, this actually is not, this is such a bad situation for me. I don't want to give in that situation, or it really suits me like horribly, or I feel I'm sacrificing something. I feel I'm not being genuine about this. If that's the situation, then I would definitely suggest that we then look at what's going on before we give, because then we're not giving. Then we're actually not giving at all. We're just being deceptive towards other people.
Thank you for pointing that out. For me, it has been a lifelong journey exploring this and working with this. So I've come to the point where if I feel like I give from a position in the drama triangle, like from the position of a victim or a rescuer or a violator, myself or others, if I give from that position within me, it's a no. And I have to stop it right away. But if I give from a position in the freedom triangle, the empowerment dynamic, where I'm the creator or the coach or the helper in a good way, like from a place of sovereignty, then it's a yes. And we can actually, when we have peeled all the layers and taken off all the masks, we do know.
Yeah.
If we come from drama or freedom, if we come from fear or love.
Our body knows.
Yeah. But it's just, that's also a lot of unlearning to do when we come from the position of wanting to rescue the world or help the world, save the world. That is, I think, working with regenerative leadership with all these, like that, I think that is, a thing to consider, that the mindset of not being a savior or a rescuer.
Absolutely. Yeah. And really being aware of, what are you attached to? Are we attached to our own self-understanding of being fantastic? Yeah. Or are we actually attached to giving, which is, it's actually two quite different things. And it's a lifelong journey to keep on being, being aware and being aware, because of course we can get caught up in our own fabulousness as help.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much for sharing all your fabulousness.
It's a deep pleasure to hear.
I'm kidding. I'm not kidding, but
yeah.
I think it was a very, very heart-opening, very inspiring conversation, Lucy. I thank you from the depth of my heart, and I cannot wait to share this with everybody feeling the call to listen in. So thank you very much for taking
Thank you very much. Thank you. Pleasure.